Welcome, everyone, to the 𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐫, an international faith-based show where we help entrepreneurs find their missing puzzle piece, investors, advisors, and partnerships. If you are within the 5 C's, Christ, cannabis, cryptocurrency, cybersecurity, and certified public accountants, please reach out. Here at the 𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐫, we assist entrepreneurs in growing their business by connecting them with advisors, partnerships, and investors. Hosted by Alan Lau and Crystal Wampler. And joining us today is our co-host, Joshua Peck, founder and chief investment officer of 𝐂𝐶𝐸 Capital. Joshua, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me here.
Thank you. Thank you. Joshua, can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and 𝐂𝐶𝐸 Capital?
Sure. My background really started out in pure tech, where I built a couple of companies that got, fairly large, and we were able to shift into managing assets. And in parallel, I'd kind of accumulated a bit of cryptocurrency that grew to, well over half our portfolio. And at that point, I don't know if you've ever had a 50% plus crypto allocation in your portfolio, but it's not a real comfortable feeling. So I felt like I better professionalize that, and I better sit down and figure out what's going on with this. And so I spent a bit of time, really tried to figure out what was keeping me up at night, and converted that into a strategy that we could use for ourselves. And eventually we ported that over to and launched it as a public-facing hedge fund for other high net worth individuals and family offices to invest in under the umbrella of 𝐂𝐶𝐸 Capital.
Thank you so much for joining us today as our co-host. Our show schedule is packed. We are booked with guest speakers for February 2024. If you're interested in being a guest speaker accessing our current deal flow, please reach out to Crystal at canethics.com. You can be ethical in business. Today's show is broadcast live across multiple platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Our network consists of an array of business owners, Web3 launch pads, venture capital firms, family offices, blockchain and crypto hedge funds, high net worth CPAs, attorneys, investors, and angels. Before we introduce our amazing guest today, who is also a friend, colleague, and my crypto mentor, Alan, please present our Bible verse for today.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining a new month in September. And I always love to start the show with a Bible verse to share with all of you. Today's scripture Bible verse comes from John 16:33, and it says, "I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world." This is actually a story that is when Jesus is prophesying to his disciples about his upcoming crucifixion. So he's going in prayer mode to pray for the people and disciples, and letting them know that he has overcome the world, and take heart, you don't have to worry. And in Jesus you can find peace, and God can find peace. So I would say this verse really hit me, because I think at times when we feel like the world's overcoming us, it's actually the other way around. Is as long as you're a believer in Jesus Christ, who has died for our sins and overcome the world, we shall find peace. And this is a very comforting verse that I meditated on. So I'd like to share with you guys, and that is John 16:33.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate that. The 𝐂𝐶𝐸 show presents speaker Adam Bloomberg, co-founder of Interaxis, today, Friday, September 1st, 2023. Adam Bloomberg, CFP, was a financial advisor for over 12 years and is the co-founder of Interaxis, a company dedicated to educating financial professionals about digital assets, cryptocurrency, blockchain, and other alternative assets. The YouTube channel they created has over 11,000 subscribers, and they created a course and certification to teach financial professionals how to make crypto and digital assets part of their practice. In May 2021, he helped launch Planner DAO, the first decentralized community for financial advisors. Planner DAO has grown to almost 1,200 members and manages the Certified Digital Asset Advisor designation. Adam is also a business development specialist for Bespoke Group, a multifamily office specializing in crypto wealth. Welcome, Adam.
Crystal, thank you so much. The intro sounds a little bit exhausting, and it makes me want to go take off early on the holiday weekend. But glad to be here and excited to talk with you all. This is awesome.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Adam. You know, you were a financial planner for 12 years. What made you want to get into digital assets, cryptocurrency, and the blockchain?
Oh, wow. So, like most financial advisors, you know, through most of the life of, the early life of Bitcoin, I was pretty skeptical. This weird, digital currency thing that I didn't quite understand, that it seemed to have a very cult following. And the Winklevoss twins that I knew from the Facebook movie were heavily involved. That was pretty much what I knew of Bitcoin. And it was mentioned a few times in a few movies, usually revolving around some sort of like gun trade. That's pretty much what I knew of Bitcoin. And I apologize, it's kind of a long story, but it wasn't until 2017, it was almost exactly 6 years ago, that the bad part of the story is my house flooded. I lived in Houston, Texas at the time. Now, of course, live in Denver, Colorado, near you, but I lived in Houston, Texas. My house flooded in Hurricane Harvey. We ended up selling that house and moving, and we had honestly, we had a bunch of cash because we got insurance money and such. And my business partner, Ron, had always been talking about crypto. And so I said, you know what, whatever, like I got some cash, I'll go throw down $1,000, see what happens. I said, how do I do that? He goes, check out Coinbase. So I went to Coinbase, and at the time, Coinbase had 3 cryptocurrencies: Bitcoin, ETH, and Litecoin. And I didn't realize there was more than Bitcoin. And naively, I bought ETH because Bitcoin at the time was like $5,000. ETH was like 200. And of course, I thought, obviously, the one that's 200 will get up to 5,000. So being the smart investor that I am, I'm going to buy the one that costs less. And I'm going to be a millionaire easily. It actually shot up in value. Remember, this is kind of late 2017. I bought some Litecoin. It shot up in value. I thought, I'm going to be retired in like a year. This is so easy. Maybe I'll start a hedge fund, but maybe I'll just invest my own money. And then, of course, that didn't happen. I learned quickly after that there are thousands of these cryptocurrencies, and I couldn't fathom why there would have to be thousands of them. So that's when I went down the proverbial rabbit hole, learning crypto, which in 2017, 2018 was not that easy, right? It was a bunch of YouTube channels with people, most of whom were very hard to understand. It was reading white papers on subjects I didn't understand. But what did sink in was it reminded me of the early days of the internet. And, unfortunately, I seem to be the oldest person on this call. I was in college during the early days of the internet in the mid 90s. And this really reminded me of that. And I remembered the early days of the internet when a bunch of people said, we don't need that. Why would I need to buy my books online? I can just go to Barnes and Noble. Why am I going to put in my credit card number? It can get stolen. Why would I buy things on a website? All these things that were going around for people. Why do we need this internet thing? Everything we have works perfectly well. And that crypto completely reminded me of that. And that is what kind of sent me down even further rabbit holes, having the financial understanding and knowledge and experience, and going, I see where this is mapping. I know where the inefficiencies are. I know where the inconsistencies are. I know where the incumbents are getting their fees and taking too much. I know what can be intermediated. And this new technology fits that. And so that's what really got me interested in it. Of course, I told everyone I knew about it, and they got tired of hearing me. So they basically told me to shut up and stop talking about it all the time. And it wasn't until 2019 that Ron, again, my partner, convinced me to start a YouTube channel, because he said, look, you explain financial concepts to people all the time using your whiteboard. Why don't you just explain crypto to people using the whiteboard? And I was so naive, I didn't even know you could just launch a YouTube channel. I didn't think it was that easy to like record something and throw it up on YouTube. But we did that, and people started to appreciate the explanations, I guess. And that's what's kind of gotten us here. We decided in 2020 there had to be a course for financial professionals because folks were not going to make crypto a part of their portfolio unless their financial advisor understood it and helped them with allocation and such, which I know we'll talk about. So that's kind of what has got, taken me down this road. Is I love learning about it. I think it's incredibly important. I have some context being around for the early days of the internet. And so, I guess here's where we are. And now I get to be on, here I am in Colorado living here and get to be on your show.
Thank you for that background. Your YouTube channel has grown to what, 1,100 or how many people?
I think it's like 11 or 12,000, something like that, subscribers. I don't know. I've made it a point to not really shill anything or not say you have to invest and not talk about trading and not talking about how you're going to make so much money. All things that would obviously drive more subscribers and more viewers, but I don't want to do any of that because that's not what explaining the technology does. This is not, crypto is not around to make you rich. It's around because it's a natural evolution of technology and finance. And that's what I want to explain. I mean, most people, as most people on this call know, most people that you would talk to don't understand how the financial system works anyway. And that's not a knock on them. That's the fact that we don't have to know. We've been spoon-fed the financial system since we can remember, right? You got a checking account and a savings account, you know how to use a debit card, and you pay for things with a credit card by swiping them. And that's what you have to know until things go horribly wrong, like they did in 2008, like they almost did this year when banks started failing. And that's when people go, oh, I didn't realize that banks lend out my money when I put it in there. Like that didn't occur to me that a bank can go under for that reason, that banks have to have really good risk management. Didn't occur to me. So you have to explain the current financial system, how that works, current economic system, and then go, here's where crypto, blockchain, decentralized finance fits in. And it's not there to make you rich. It's there because it's a more efficient system. It's a more transparent system. And that's what people have to understand.
Thank you for sharing that. Having 11,000 members on your YouTube channel is no small feat. And the fact that you don't, promote, what to invest in and whatnot, I think is fantastic. Education is key and it's super important. That's probably why you're successful and you're on, numerous podcasts. I see you on podcasts like almost every day. How do you have time to even do any work?
I don't know. ChatGPT. That's it. ChatGPT does most of the work for me.
Oh yes, I love ChatGPT. It's fantastic. Are you being facetious?
I am being just a slight bit facetious, but I do use it. I have figured out how to use it because, as you said, there's very little time to go, okay, I'm going to record this video, I'm going to record a podcast, but then I also have to write a Twitter thread and a LinkedIn post, and I have to write a summary for a newsletter. Whereas I can go, look, I've recorded this once. I've recorded my thoughts in a certain way. I can let ChatGPT pull that into a summary of what I just said in a written format. So I don't have to sit there and type it all out, because when I type it all out, I start to rethink things and maybe that's not what I wanted to say, or I want to shorten it because I don't want to sit here and type, or I misspelled a word and now I got to go to dictionary.com and figure out how I misspelled the word and I get all off topic. ChatGPT, I can just plug in the transcript and go, give me a summary, a Twitter post, a LinkedIn post. The idea that the main point is when I recorded myself on video, those were the thoughts. Get those thoughts out there in some other format. So I do use it. In terms of where do I find the time? I don't know. I enjoy, someone asked me that yesterday. How do I get to learn about new platforms and new protocols and everything? And I don't really have the time, but I love learning about what people have to offer, what they're building, where that can fit in the financial system, where it fits in for everybody else. I love learning about that. And I love, kind of pontificating on where everything fits, and even helping them going, I know someone I need to introduce you to that I think would be great for your tech or your protocol or something. I love doing that. And I have this sickness where I can't stop.
Josh, did you have a comment?
Yeah, actually, Adam, I just kind of wanted to dig in a little bit because,
Dig in, man. That's what we're here for. Let's go.
YouTube, crypto YouTube especially, can be such a sensational platform, right? And you're sitting there giving them legitimate content. How do you kind of break through all of that noise of, hot tips and this and that and the other? And, really, how are you building an audience that's, with this more serious educational content?
I think the answer to that is I don't care that much if I have subscribers or not, or if a whole bunch of people view it via YouTube or something. Like, that's not really my goal. My goal has been to educate people. Then my goal is to kind of build up a network within, crypto and financial services and such that when you have kind of the ends of these hype cycles, and what you're talking about is a bunch of hype cycles and trends, and it was trading, and then it was DeFi, and then it was NFTs, and all these things that trend, and people build up their YouTube subscribers. And at the end of all that, when we come to what crypto and DeFi and blockchain is going to be, I still want to be there with some degree of respect for myself and from the community to go, I've been here the whole time. I haven't promoted anything that totally failed and blew up. I haven't promoted any rugs or scams or anything like that. And I think, honestly, a lot of that comes from, if I go back, having followed what happened on with the internet, with the early days of the internet, when, if anyone on here remembers, and I guess I doubt it looking at everyone's faces, but if you remember the early days of the internet, it was all about the hype of the stock price, right? The hype was all the stock price. And these companies that were building something that we didn't even know what the internet was, but if you put a .com after it, all of a sudden it was $1 billion company, and we just weren't ready for it. And it was all about the hype. And at the end of the 2001 market crash is when we actually started building the internet. And years later is when we figured out here's what it's for. So I want to be the one that's still there when we figure out what it's all for and how we're going to use it. And to do that, it's like I don't worry so much about YouTube subscriber, like how many subscribers I have. I worried about the first 100, because after 100 subscribers, I could have my own. I could name my channel what I wanted to, and have it be youtube.com/c/interaxis. Right, that was a big deal. It was the first 100, and after that, it didn't much matter. I think the key is do something that where at the end of the day, like, I can respect myself for what I did. Someone has a hand raised. Awesome.
Me, I do. I got a hand raised. Adam, I took some continuing education courses on NASDAQ. It's really just for me to learn individually. But why do you think why is it important for financial advisors to learn about cryptocurrency now?
Oh, wow. Okay. How many hours do you have for me to explain this to you? There's so many reasons. So one is, obviously, if you're a financial advisor, if you're a CPA, if you're any sort of financial professional, if you're someone who helps someone else with their money, right? So attorneys, bankers, anyone who helps someone else with their money, I think it's imperative to understand it. One is your clients are wanting to invest in it right now. Your clients want to invest in crypto. They're putting it in their portfolios. They're doing it a lot of times, if you're an advisor, without your knowledge, and they're worried that you're going to tell them, you're going to shame them, you're going to tell them to get it out of there, you're going to go sell that crap and put it into a S&P 500 fund or something like that, where I, as the advisor, make money on you. That's the worry. If you're an advisor and you can help your client with, and I'll go back, many of those clients, many of those investors are going to get scammed. They're going to lose money because they're going to FOMO in and buy the hot token that they found on a YouTube channel, right? They're going to do all those things, and they're going to lose money. And it's going to be bad for crypto. It's going to be bad for the clients. And if you're the advisor and you go, look, if you just would have told me, we could have had the conversation about it. We could have talked about allocation. We could have talked about risk. This is a great way as an advisor for you get to have allocation conversations and risk conversations with clients that doesn't necessarily involve all the other products that you use. Because most advisors, again, we're so spoon-fed. You come to me and I have this allocation that I'm going to put you in, and it's going to be a 70-30 or an 80-20 or whatever it is, and clients don't understand it. And 99.5% of the time, once they leave your office, they forgot what they signed and they forgot what they agreed to and all those things, until such time as it goes wrong, or they're not doing as well as they hoped, or someone else points out the fees they're paying or something. And then they go, hey, I didn't realize you were charging me for this. I didn't realize I was in this portfolio, whatever. And this is the opportunity to actually have those conversations with them. So if you find out that your clients have, a few grand or 10 grand, 20 grand, whatever in Bitcoin or in ETH or in some other coin that I won't mention because I don't want to disparage any that are really bad. If you find that out, it's not the time to shame them. It's time to go, all right, let's talk about this. Why did you buy this? Tell me about what your plan is. If it goes up 100%, are you planning to sell? Are you going to take some off the table? Or are you planning to keep it? Have you made money from it? Have you talked about your estate? Have you thought about taxes? All of those things, you get to have those conversations, which is what advisors are supposed to do, right? You're supposed to help your client with their financial life, kind of regardless of what that financial life is, assuming it's all legal, of course. And so that's one reason why I think it's very important. Another reason why I think it's important is now you get to have discussions. If we're talking about Bitcoin, you get to have more economic-based discussions, right? If your investment thesis behind Bitcoin is it's a store of value, it's an inflation hedge. And then you get to go, hey, I know what inflation is. I know what a store of value is. Let's talk about those things, because honestly, for the last 15, 16, 17 years, we haven't had to talk about them, right? We haven't had inflation. We haven't had to store value other than in stocks. Like the best store of value is Apple or Amazon, right? Well, things are changing. Now we get to have real discussions. I get to be a real advisor now. I think that's important. If I want to go further, it's not just the value of the crypto assets and how they fit in a portfolio and talking about risk, but now it's this thought that some of the aspects that blockchain technology are introducing, things like self-custody, are so important because that's a natural evolution of technology. If we are going to custody our own assets in the future, it's incumbent on the financial professionals to help clients understand safety and security and what that even means to custody my own assets, right? What it means, because this goes all the way back to the early days of the stocks, where if I own GE stock, it's because I physically held stock certificates. And if I sold them to you, Alan, now you physically own GE because you own the certificates and you gave me money for them, right? That's what self-custody was. And we went away from that for efficiency's sake. And now we can go back to that and maintain the same efficiency. Let's have those conversations. But as your advisor, I need to be able to help you safety and security wise. And then if we go further, clients might be getting paid in crypto assets, and that could be Bitcoin and ETH. It could be US dollar coins, stable coins, something that represents a dollar. What does that look like? How does that look if they are completely circumventing banks by using this technology, which we're on a road to? If they're circumventing banks by doing that, but now they have to figure out, all right, how do I hold my assets? How do I keep this safe? We're also going to get into this era of hyper personalization of your portfolio. When we have tokenized versions of private companies, of real estate, of public companies, of my income stream, I can tokenize my income stream at some point. And this sounds like science fiction, but so did having a Zoom call like this 10 years ago, sounded like science fiction. And here we've been doing it routinely. I've had 4 Zoom calls today. 10 years ago, this was crazy talk. Right? So if you don't think your clients are going to have hyper personalized portfolios, and much of it is going to be based on this technology, then you're likely going to be out of this business soon. So it's incumbent to learn how it works, and not just from the perspective of get my clients into Bitcoin and hope it 10x's again. There's so much more to it, and understanding the technology is going to be incumbent on advisors, because you're going to have to keep your clients safe, secure, not lose their money, all of those things before you can even help them grow their money. It's going to be, don't lose my money. So I apologize for the very long answer to the very short question.
I love that answer. the self-custody aspect of it is, I worked at a bank for many years, is the safe deposit box. That was the old days of self-custody. You put all your prized possession and your valuables in stock certificate, your gold, your diamonds, everything inside a safe deposit box. So
yeah, and I didn't even get into talking about transparency. Like that's a whole new world, right? But how important would transparency have been talking about Silicon Valley Bank?
yeah.
Right? Like that would have been incredibly important. And it gives us that. That's kind of what the blockchain technology gives us, but we have to learn how to use that power, how to use those benefits that the technology gives us.
I have a question, Adam.
Yes.
I guess based on your description of how you got involved, is it safe to refer to you as an early adopter?
I see the early adopters as like pre-2015 or something like that. The people who have probably a significant amount of wealth and used it a lot and stuff. Like I don't think I consider myself. I wish I were an early adopter. We'd be having a very different conversation right now.
But how do you? The question is, based on when you started and where we are today, do you think we have progressed quickly enough at the pace that you think we are as far as the education, or are we still lagging behind in terms of the getting the information out there and not just information, but the understanding of the information by the regular person, not just the financial advisors? How do you think we're progressing? Are we on pace, off pace, lagging behind? Where you think we are?
Okay, well, answer number one is I really wish we would progress faster in terms of education. And that's totally selfish because I educate people and I wish that they would, take my courses and all that a lot faster. I wish we would get educated more in better ways, right? I think more people know about crypto and I should use air quotes, know about crypto via some article they read in mainstream media that could be either really cited one way or the other, that doesn't have a whole bunch of education aspect to it. So I don't think there has been enough education. I don't think the whole space is progressing as quickly as I would like, but that's because I'm in it every single day. And when we look back in 10 or 15 years, we're going to go, oh, I see how that progressed. So most of us in the crypto space, and I talked about this with one of my partners yesterday, and I think I tweeted something about it or responded to Chris Berniski, I think today, was those that have been kind of turned off, those that have been either early adopters or builders or OGs or something that have been turned off recently. It's because it's not happening as fast as they would like. And part of the reason why it's not happening as fast as they would like is there hasn't been that education. Part of the reason why is the over financialization of it, of crypto. Mainly people just want to make money. All they want to do is make a whole bunch of money real quickly. And they either scam or they rug pull or they just develop a protocol and try to raise a bunch of money, and then it doesn't really matter. Like they don't do anything that's actually progressing forward. They're just trying to raise a bunch of money, and that ends up giving us very negative thoughts, very negative ideas, negative media, quote, negative education, right? The negative education is I lost a bunch of money, I got scammed, and therefore you all remind me, who's the guy, the actor who lost a bunch of money in crypto because he didn't know what he was doing, and then he wrote a book and went on a book tour about how awful crypto is? You guys remember? He was on OC. No one really knew who he was until he wrote a book about crypto and how much he hates it. Anyway, but that's a bunch of the education that we've got, and part of that is because for a couple of years during COVID and then after, everyone was just sitting around with nothing else to do, and maybe they played around with crypto, and maybe they traded money back and forth, and maybe they traded pictures of monkeys back and forth, and no one really learned what it was meant to be used for. But everyone's on the internet, so everyone can educate each other, right? In the early days of the internet, we didn't have the internet to help to educate each other, either positive or negative. Ben McKenzie, thank you very much. for that. I'm glad we got a Ben McKenzie mention in here. Hopefully it's in a negative light. But to I don't know, kind of answer your question again, I went around it a whole lot, but no, we don't have nearly the education on positive aspects. And I don't mean positive like only good. I mean positive like where should this technology be utilized? We don't have enough of that. How
And
should
why you think that is?
Because everyone just wants to make money, a lot of money right away, because we saw the people who have made a lot of money with it, and everyone just wants to emulate them and have the cars and all that. When, yeah, I mean, and the irony of it is, those that kind of flaunt that they've made money in crypto probably lost a lot. And, I can tell you, and Crystal can tell you this, and Clayton can tell you this, those that have made a tremendous amount of wealth in crypto don't tell anybody that they have, right? Those that have made a lot just kind of keep it private and either keep building or, they'll talk positively about crypto, but they won't flaunt it. But honestly, I think it all comes down to it became over financialized to the point that everyone looks at it as a get rich quick scheme. And therefore there just hasn't been a lot of money in building good education around it, because all the money has been in how can I do whatever I need to do to make a lot of money really quickly in crypto.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There was an interesting thought I had, Adam, as you were talking there, and you feel like you're not an early adopter, but I think you still might be, because I saw a report recently that less than 20% of Americans actually own Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency, right? Even though about 90% of them are aware of it, they're still not, accessing the market. And then you contrast that with over half of Gen Z people are invested in cryptocurrencies. And I think it might be even earlier than you imagine, because, if you look at the Gartner hype cycle, that first kind of tranche there, that first 20%, is still way, way early. And I kind of wonder, if this is something you see as like, okay, well, as this evolves, they're just going to have to, and advisors are just going to have to embrace this or start to educate themselves about it to stay relevant to this new generation that's so enmeshed with crypto.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'd say this as a financial advisor, yeah, I'm a super, super, super early adopter. It's still probably like 3% of advisors or something that know enough about it to talk to their clients about it. As just an individual, look, I consider the early adopters the ones who had to have so much faith in what Bitcoin started and so much faith in what Ethereum was building, that they continue to build and continue to hold and all of those things. And I don't know, like if I had really learned about Bitcoin in like 2012, I don't know if I'd have had that conviction, right? Maybe I would have, but I don't know if I would have had that conviction the whole through. So when you say early adopter, I don't know, like I wish I were earlier, of course, but yeah, I'm early adoption in terms of really digging in and understanding and learning how it works and thinking through how it should, affect the financial system, how it should affect your portfolio, how it will affect, private assets, public assets, Rolexes, whatever you want to talk about. That's where I guess I am early to, thinking through it that way. I guess in 20 years, we'll look back and go, yeah, we were really early. To me, the really early ones are the ones who, have 9 figures worth of wealth because they were early and had that conviction to it. And again, I don't have those 9 figures worth of wealth. So until then, here I am trying to get people to learn more about it.
Yeah, and the game's not over yet. So we'll see how early it is.
It's not, and we're all very early right now. We're all still figuring it out. We're figuring out where it fits, who's going to build for it, what the actual use cases are. And I think if I go way back to the beginning of my story, having been through that same cycle with the internet, I have so much comfort with where we are and going, it's going to work out. You know why? Because it's an evolution of technology. We always evolve forward. We don't go backwards. And I know that because, again, all of us are sitting here on the Zoom call that's being streamed to LinkedIn, which seemed crazy 10 or 15 years ago. And we just keep progressing forward. And there's no way that technological and financial evolution ended back in 2008 or 2006 or 1930, if you listen to the SEC, right? It didn't end then, and it's not going to. It's going to keep progressing forward. And I have complete comfort in the fact that we're going to get there. And going back to Alan, I think your question about why advisors need to learn this, it's because technology and finance always progresses forward. And whether you believe in crypto, whether you believe in the value of Bitcoin or ETH or whatever else, if you don't think we're going to progress forward from a technological and financial perspective, I don't know where you've been. I don't know what you've been looking at, right? If you don't realize that at one point we didn't have online brokers, we didn't have online bank accounts, and we didn't have fintech, and we didn't have all those things. You physically had to go into a bank branch at one point to deposit checks and get cash, right? Like I remember my first checking account, I'd go to the grocery store and write a check for $30 for a piece of gum so I could get cash. You know, like we've progressed past that. And if you are a financial professional and you're going to dig your heels in and go, no, we're done progressing technologically, you're crazy, right? Ironically, you're probably saying that on Twitter of all places, which didn't exist not that long ago.
X.
I see now who's not evolving.
That's very true. I think we're all still going through the adoption phase of the technology itself. I want to just point out, I know this past week, there was a lot of interviews and comments and recap on the SEC versus the ETF with Grayscale, having an ETF being launched into the market. That should drive a lot of, I would say, institutional buys, and that way they can add it to their sliver in their client's portfolio. Do you see more institutional adoption where they know they want to get in? They didn't want to get into a traditional way. They want to get into an ETF way where it's more diversified. More people can be in it. You have traders that can be in it, and it can be part of a client's portfolio. So how do you see having the ETF space that will continue to grow? Because, I mean, in the marketplace, there's a lot of different ETF companies. Most major institutions will have, ETFs on the platform. So,
the ETFs have obviously been a super hot topic when it comes to Bitcoin and in crypto overall. And, the important point to point out is the ruling this past week in favor of Grayscale against the SEC does not give us a Bitcoin spot ETF at all. All it says is the SEC has to have a different reason if they want to deny Grayscale's application. They have to go back to the application and they now get to approve, deny, or delay, just like they could do before. There are a whole bunch of companies like BlackRock and Bitwise and ARK and Fidelity that have applications in for a Bitcoin spot ETF right now. And as of yesterday, the SEC delayed their choice again. And I think they have till January on some and then March on some to actually approve or deny. And they can keep delaying until then. Now, I'll say this, as kind of a crypto purist, I'm against the idea of a Bitcoin spot ETF because I think it takes an incredibly novel technological and financial idea and wraps it in old financial systems, adds fees to it. All the things that Bitcoin was supposed to replace and get rid of, we're wrapping right back in just so that those institutions can easily hold in their portfolios without having to do a lot of work, right? And that's frustrating for me because that's kind of anti-ethos of crypto. On the positive side, if there is a Bitcoin spot ETF approved, if there is one, there'll probably be like 8 or 9 approved. I think the value of Bitcoin will go up tremendously when that happens just because of supply and demand, right? All of those ETF companies have to buy a tremendous amount And if we were on a different show, I might use 4-letter words to describe the amount of Bitcoin they'll have to buy to satisfy the demand for the spot ETF. It will also have a registered ticker symbol, which means, as you said, institutions can easily buy it and feel comfortable with it because the SEC approved it. What it also means, even more than anything, I think, is the, I don't know, $11 trillion or something like that that's wrapped up in retirement accounts in this country. Now we'll have easy access to buy the Bitcoin spot ETF. That's a lot of money. Even if you figure, a couple percent of all that goes into Bitcoin, the price goes up significantly. I'm not giving financial advice. I'm not making calls. I'm not telling you the price is wildly going to go up. I'm saying that's what I think might happen, which is the good part of that is, as the price goes up, we see more and more people jumping in, interested in the market, more institutions investigating. That means more people are going to learn. They're getting more advisors, more CPAs, more everyone is going to learn about crypto. Why is Bitcoin going up? Why is ETH going up? What does it mean? And then they're going to have to go, okay, what's the difference between Bitcoin and ETH? I got to figure that out. Then they're all of a sudden going to go, I'm paying these fees to BlackRock or Fidelity or ARK or whomever. Can I get around those fees? Oh, yeah, you can custody your own Bitcoin. You don't have to hold it in an ETF with BlackRock. You can hold on to it yourself. And when you hold on to it yourself, you can send it to your family back in your home country. Or you can throw it on a little USB looking device and go anywhere you want in the world, and your money's with you. That's the difference between a Bitcoin spot ETF and owning Bitcoin. And they're going to have to learn all that. And unfortunately for me, for the purists of us, they're going to have to learn it after BlackRock and Fidelity and all those companies that Bitcoin's trying to kind of get rid of. All those companies wrap it in their little in their little shells based on 1930s laws, right? Which is a little bit frustrating, but I think that's what's just going to have to happen. That's going to be the natural evolution of this. Is it's going to have to go through the traditional system first before everyone really starts to get the idea. And I say everyone in this country really starts to get the idea. In other countries, they're figuring it out a lot faster. Why? Because they have to. They don't have a choice. They don't have a robust financial system like we have. They don't have laws. As much as I complain about our 1930s securities laws, they're better than most countries, right? They keep our money safer than most countries. Amanda, you have your hand up. How patient.
I do. I enjoy listening to you. So this is great.
I
just had
enjoy
a quick,
listening to me too.
you know what? Sometimes it's nice to hear yourself talk, right? No, I do have a question. What would be the advice you'd give advisors who want to start implementing crypto into their practice? I have a feeling it might be taking your class. So if it is the case, how do we sign up for that?
That's definitely going to be really high on my list. But like the thing I can tell is learn about it, right? Like get educated on it from the perspective of kind of how it works and where the risks are. I think figuring out what the risks are first is the most important, because you don't want your clients to lose money. And then it's not necessarily, it is, once you kind of understand it, it's how does this fit into my practice, and not necessarily from a way of like, how can I get assets under management and make a whole bunch of money on it? I'm going to go be the Bitcoin advisor now. It's just, how can I increase or improve the conversations I'm having with my clients? And if I just throw out those terms like, hey, when you're doing your regular reviews with your clients, hey, I took this Bitcoin course, or I took this crypto course. What do you think? And they might go, well, I'm glad you said that. I happen to have 10K in a Coinbase account. Well, bam, now you got a great conversation, and you don't have to think of it necessarily as, how can I get that $10,000 in my pocket, in under my AUM instead of sitting in Coinbase. But it's like, this is a good place to have a conversation, right? So, but yeah, take our course. We have a course called the Certified Digital Asset Advisor course. I'll throw out everyone here a pretty sizable discount if you want. So I don't know if anyone, like, I don't have my browser open, so I can't throw the link in here. But if someone wants to throw the link in here, at all, I will promise to throw out a pretty significant discount. If anyone wants to hit me on LinkedIn or Twitter or something, I will throw you out a pretty big discount code.
Yeah, thanks for that, Adam. I'm sure the audience is going to really appreciate it. because-
Yeah, and look, the idea is, this is kind of tongue in cheek. Like, the reason why we created this course is so that we could teach it from the perspective of a financial advisor. Here's kind of what we feel you need to learn, because we know what questions we would get asked, and we know how we would answer them, and we know what we would want to know in order to help clients with their crypto. So that's how we designed it. What we did is incredibly technical, and I apologize for that, except all the times I tried to make it super high level, and I'm going to explain Bitcoin and crypto at a high level. The questions we got always took us down this slippery slope to, we have to explain the technology. It's the only way I can explain to you why there's only 21 million Bitcoin, and what halving means, and what the economic, economic policy of Bitcoin is, and why ETH is different than Bitcoin. It's the only way I can do it is to get technical with it, because that as an advisor is going to be what helps you keep your clients' money safe, and helps you understand the transparency, and help your clients understand what the value is. And that's why we did that. And so I apologize in advance for having to talk about cryptography, which is where cryptocurrency comes from, and hashing algorithms, and what else, and having cycles, and all those things, but in smart contracts and all that. But it's just kind of what we have to do. It's just kind of what you have to do. You have to relearn money. Basically, you have to relearn money and how the financial system works. And we do that somehow in 12 hours of video course. And it's a lot of me talking. So if you like hearing me talk, then by all means, you get to hear it for 12 hours, and you get to do it on demand. And then you get a live session every week that Crystal popped into this morning.
So now that you've built this educational platform, and you have dug into the education for Bitcoin for financial planners as much as just about anybody around, what do you feel like the role of crypto is in a client portfolio?
You know what? I think it's different for different people, right? And I think it somewhat depends on what the rest of the portfolio looks like. It somewhat depends on your risk profile. And I'm going to give you the lawyer answer of it depends. I'm not a lawyer, but the answer is it depends. It could be something that is an inflation hedge, right? It depends on where you are in your life. If you are, 10 years from retirement, believe it or not, it probably could be an inflation hedge. We're finally seeing inflation for the first time in 15, 20 years. And if you're getting close to retirement, you probably haven't factored in 7% inflation into your retirement plan. So how else are you going to factor that in? You're not going to do it by necessarily owning stocks. You're not going to do it by earning interest. You're going to do it by investing in something like Bitcoin that has a very limited supply, right? So it could be an inflation hedge if you're getting close to retirement, or maybe you're getting close to that time where your kids are going to college or something. For some people, and I've had I think a YouTube video on this, and I've talked about it. I think I wrote an article about it on the different reasons just to hold Bitcoin. I'm not talking about crypto, but just Bitcoin. And it's Bitcoin the revolution, Bitcoin the macro, and Bitcoin the micro. And the revolution is, I don't want anything I have to be involved with banks or the US government or anything like that. I want money that I can literally up and leave wherever I am anytime, right? That's kind of the revolutionary aspect. That's probably not for most people's portfolios, right? But for the micro, it's, all right, I have 10 years for retirement. How am I going to keep crypto in my portfolio? And therefore it could be that inflation hedge, right? It could be something akin to gold, because it's not that easy to own gold, right? For some people, if they're going with crypto like ETH, it's more of a venture or a tech play, right? Thanks, Amanda. I will give you a better link if that's okay.
I just realized no one was doing it, and I was like, oh, I can do this real quick.
No worries. I appreciate it. But yeah, I can get you a better link than that. But going back to where it fits in a portfolio, here, let me copy the link. Let's go right.
And kind of as a financial advisor, how do you kind of counsel clients on the other parts of crypto, right? The legacy planning, the estate planning, because that's more complicated too.
That's right. So that it gets a little more complicated. You have to understand, you have to again, as an advisor or a CPA or anyone, it allows you to have those conversations. It allows you actually be an advisor and not just be a person who tries to make them as much money on their money as they can. But let's talk about your money now. What happens when you die? What happens when you become disabled? They're not fun topics, but you have to have those conversations. That's part of the plan, right? Do you understand that if you have all your money on a crypto wallet, and I might be saying things that people don't understand, but if you have all your money on a crypto wallet and you die and no one else has the private key, that no one else is going to get this money. Do you get that? And they might go, well, yeah, but I'm not going to die. Okay, like how much chance are you willing to take with that?
That's been a bad strategy for many, many years.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. Look, and I have a friend who used to say, when I lived in Texas, if you don't have an estate plan, the state of Texas has one for you, you probably don't like it, right? But in the case of crypto, if you don't have an estate plan, Bitcoin has an estate plan for you, and it's your Bitcoin's lost forever, right? It literally goes to zero. And that's even worse plan than having the state of Texas decide what happens to your money. So, you get to have those conversations, and it's going to be different for everyone because someone's going to have their crypto in Coinbase, someone's going to have it in a wallet. It's like, have you taught your spouse or your kids how to use this? If they're the ones who are going to get it, have you taught your spouse or your kids why you have it? And they might, get it and go, oh, this is great. I have $10,000 worth of Bitcoin because my husband died. I'm going to go sell it. And your thought was, no, we're holding that for 10 years. But if you haven't told them that, they don't know. Right. And you get to help them keep it safe, and you get to help them with an estate plan. I talked earlier about why it's so important for advisors to know this too, so their clients can have any plan at all. It's, if I bought Bitcoin, if I spent 10 grand to buy Bitcoin, and it doubles, what's my plan? Right? Am I going to sell it? Am I going to keep it the same allocation in my portfolio? Am I going to sell half of it? What am I going to do at that point? So it's, Bitcoin is part of your retirement plan if you think it's going to go up in value significantly. And you can have those conversations with your clients. And that's what I think is so important. It's the conversations and the information you can give. And again, actually be an advisor. Overall, we're coming back to the point where advisors actually have to be advisors for their clients about their money and everything financial. It's not just, how can I get your money into Fidelity or Schwab and put it into a portfolio of ETFs, and mine is going to grow faster than the person down the street, right? Those days are kind of gone. You have to be an advisor because your clients are going to have all sorts of assets. They're going to have all sorts of alternative assets. You're going to have to help them with estate planning and custody. I mean, you're going to have to talk about things like custody. If they have a significant amount of crypto, what does custody look? What are their other custodial options, right? Can they actually custody it at a bank, right? I mean, we at Bespoke, we're helping people that are the ultra wealthy in crypto move some of their assets actually into bank custody, but not a bank like you and I know it, a bank like they know it in Switzerland or other places in the world. We are, but part of that is understanding it enough to where we can explain to them, here's how banks in the US work. Here's how a bank in Switzerland works. Here's how a bank in Singapore works. They're different. And in that way, I get to be your advisor, right? For what you actually pay me for. Above and beyond, I'm just putting your stuff into a basket of ETFs and we hope it goes up. Right. Again, I don't even know if I answered your question, but I hope I get somewhere in there.
You touched on something there that I think is important too, is that, a lot of people right now have small crypto allocations, but as we know in the crypto market, those can get big quick. And there's a big difference between managing a few $1,000s worth of Bitcoin on a Trezor or something and, several $1 million. The amount of diligence, business continuity process, planning that's required for that can be substantially different. And so how do you feel like the financial advisors can kind of help facilitate that as their clients, maybe that $10,000 turns into 100,000 or a few million?
That's an interesting move there, because a lot of the people, as we alluded to, I'm not an early adopter. If I were, my few thousand maybe would have turned into several million by this point, and I would be a Bespoke client, hopefully. So that's the end, right? That's when you have 8-9 figures worth of crypto, you go to a company like Bespoke and you have super advanced estate planners and such that can really help you with that and custody and everything else. But if you move down a little bit and go, what if I have 6 figures? What if I have 5 figures? What if I have 4 figures? There are different tactics you're going to have to use based on how much there is and what percent of someone's portfolio it is, right? If someone has $50,000 of Bitcoin, but it's half of their portfolio, from not only an estate planning perspective, but from an allocation perspective, you have to have different conversations, right? Like, why do you have so much Bitcoin? Did it start out as a really small amount and it's grown to this huge part of your portfolio? Do you work in crypto and therefore you're allocating to that because you have, kind of insider knowledge, or this is what you do every day, right? So as people move up, and as you said, it can go from a very small amount to a very large amount quickly. That's where, as the advisor, you have to go, what's our plan? If you have a small amount, what's your plan if it becomes big? Are we keeping the same allocation? Are we going to let it ride? Are we going to take some off the table? Are we going to make sure really at that point that we have our estate planning down, right? And maybe some of this moves into some other sort of custody besides, as you said, just a treasure wallet that sits in a desk drawer. Not that that's where mine are. Don't come to my office. They're definitely not there, I don't think. But that's where you kind of have the plan, and understanding it means that you can start having those conversations. And then you're the trusted advisor. You're the advisor they go to, and you're the advisor they tell their friends about. When they and their friends are talking crypto, they go, oh, well, you have to talk to my advisor or my accountant because they've helped me through all these things that I didn't even think through. All I did was I threw a few grand in on crypto, and bam, the NFT I bought became $100,000. And that's kind of life-changing for a lot of people. So how do you manage that, right? And if you're the advisor, that's your job. But if you don't know how to do it, then you either learn it or you find someone who already knows how and you learn from them.
Right. And the psychological kind of, the excitement and the psychological cycle that surrounds that kind of wealth creation and too frequently wealth destruction as well. Perhaps financial managers are really well poised to kind of be that independent third party to help counsel people through that cycle.
They should be, to be that voice of reason that says, look, what just happened is maybe not likely to happen again, or it's become life-changing money. What do you want to do with it? Right? Like, we don't, if I go win a whole bunch of money at a craps table in Vegas, I don't sit there and play craps, all the time and go, now I'm a professional gambler. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I won some money. I'm going to go buy dinner. Right? I'm going to put some in my pocket, hopefully. And not saying crypto is gambling, but if you have turned 1,000 into 100,000 or 10,000 into 100,000, the conversation changes now. But that's the job of the advisor, is to help with that.
And to keep them thinking portfolio, not, lottery.
Exactly. Portfolio, not gambling, not speculation. Now it's how is this a part of my portfolio?
Thank you guys so much for your comments. Joshua, Adam, we have to wrap up. It's been a great show. We appreciate you. Adam, where can our viewers contact you?
On LinkedIn, I am Adam Blumberg. On Twitter, at Interaxis8, INTERAXIS and the number 8. And they can go to interaxis.io and find the course. And again, if anyone wants to send me a direct message on LinkedIn or Twitter or anything else, I will be happy to send you a pretty significant discount code if you are interested in taking the course.
Thank you.
Oh, and by the way, if you're a CFP or CPA, you get 12 hours of credit for it. I forgot to mention that.
Hey, I'll put out the word for you.
Alan, can you please wrap up? Adam, thank you so much for being our guest speaker today. We appreciate you. We have 1 minute to wrap up. Alan, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Adam and Josh, for coming on to our show. Let's bow our heads and close in prayer. Heavenly gracious Father, Lord, thank you so much for another week of just wonderful people, great people that we can learn from, who is passionate about cryptocurrency and has been in the industry for a very, very long time, educating us on this platform and inspiring us to learn more about this technology that will change and evolutionize finance. Lord, you put the people in place for us to learn from each other and help each other grow. So continue to bring on, people that are really focused on, passionate about what they do, and share and spread the word about who you are. Ultimately, Lord, I just pray for this weekend. You be with us as some of us are going to be going on either vacation or taking some time off. I just pray that your Holy Spirit and you be amongst us and protect us in all things that we do. In Jesus' name.